So if you're looking for the best audio interface to spend $500, look no further, this is that video. Rather you saved up or you got a stimmy burning a hole in your pocket, you can spend that money on the Universal Audio Aero, the Universal Audio Solo, the Clarinet, or the Scarlett Sapphire Pro. Links to all those interfaces will be in the description if you want to check those out. Also, if you want me to listen to your music, go ahead and add me on Twitch. We'll be doing beat critiques and cookups. Let me know what audio interface are you currently using right now in the comments. Check out the hoodie, check out the hoodie. So all these interfaces that I mentioned are really good and will get the job done. When it comes to audio interfaces, these 4 things you need to look at: the preamp, the outputs, the connections, and the portability. The point of an audio interface is to handle your particular situation. You might not even have a huge situation regarding recording a huge band or a drum set. If so, you might as well get the Scarlett Sapphire Pro. That audio interface has up to 8 inputs. If you're like me and you're just making beats and you're recording one artist at a time, it's not necessary to get the Scarlett Sapphire Pro. Also keep in mind that that interface has the least dynamic range compared to the rest on my list. And also it was hard for me to find that information. Kind of seemed like they were kind of hiding it. I don't know. But if you're just making beats, you know, you can just have just like 2 inputs, 1 or 2. And if you have a budget of $500, you can get the Clarinet, the UA Aero, or the UA Solo. So let's talk about it. Now, these 3 interfaces all around the same price, but you may be confused about which one to get. With the Universal Audio Aero and the Solo, they're pretty much similar. The Aero is a little bit darker as far as the color, and the Solo is a little bit lighter and brighter. You know, it can match your gear depending on what kind of gear you have. But the Solo has a little bit of a louder headphone mix, and it has more options as far as connections. It has Thunderbolt 3, USB 2, which I highly recommend for Windows users instead of the Aero. The Aero only plugs in through Thunderbolt 3, which means it's fast, and I personally love it, and I have one right now and it's plugged into my Neumann TLM103. But I have a lot of issues with the microphone in those programs like FL Studios, Audacity, etc. But I don't have any issues in Pro Tools, so luckily I'm gonna keep it. I also have an issue when I'm live streaming. There's a couple clicks and stuff in the microphone. I don't know why it does that. I guess I can't use it for certain things because Thunderbolt 3 isn't fully compatible with Windows. So luckily I have a Scarlett 2i2 that I can use for that, and that plugs in through USB 2. Click the card at the top right if you want to see that video where I compare the Aero and the Scarlett 2i2. The Universal Audio Aero and the Solo comes with free plugins that I highly recommend that you check out. And personally, I use these compared to like paid plugins that I purchased. I also bought the SSL console plugin from Universal Audio, and I like it for mixing purposes, but I prefer the free preamps like I'm using right now. Let me know how it sounds. On the other end, if you're looking at the Clarinet, which also costs $500, and that also sounds better than the Scarlett 2i2, it also comes with free software like free compressors, free EQs, 2 gigs of loops, and Ableton Lite. The Clarinet also comes with a free app that you can use to monitor your levels on your iPhone or your iPad. So that's pretty great. Next, let's talk about the preamps. The Clarinet has 2 mic and line inputs. You also have an optical input port if you want more inputs on your interface. The Audio Aero or the Solo doesn't have this, so it's nice to have it if you need it. The Clarinet has basically 2 different preamps, the standard clean version and another type of preamp that basically emulates the analog transformer based ISL mic preamp, which is also built by the company Focusrite. You don't get any options to add like high pass filters on that Clarinet interface, but you can also edit it in post. If you're looking at the specs, the Clarinet has a little bit more dynamic range than the Universal Audio Aero and the Solo, but I don't think it's enough to where it's like you really notice it. I never have any issues with my Aero where I feel like I need a little bit more dynamic range, so it shouldn't be a problem. With the Universal Audio Aero and the Solo, it only has 2 inputs. They have really great clean preamps, but it also comes with different type of preamps that change and emulate more expensive hardware. Like for an example, like the SSL console, other Universal Audio preamps, the Avalon preamps, which is like $2,000. My personal favorite, the Neve preamps. And that one is free. You can literally control those preamps straight from the hardware itself. So you have more options with the Universal Audio gear as far as like preamps and the quality and the harmonics and how it actually sounds. And that actually means a lot. You know, it really changes the results. Unlike the Clarinet, you actually get the option to add a high pass filter if you really need it and your microphone is super dark. So basically this means I have to give a point to the Aero and the Solo. Real quick, if you're serious about music, you got to check out this book called All About the Music Industry. You can listen to this book for free using Audible. All you got to do is just make make a free account. This book is literally considered the Bible as far as the music industry. I highly recommend that you check this book out. You literally have nothing to lose. They even give you tips on how to market your music and get connected to big labels. But let's jump back into the video. Next, let's talk about outputs. So with the Aero and the Solo, you only get 2 outputs, which isn't bad. But in the future, me personally, I feel like, I want a little bit more. I plan on upgrading my speakers, or basically just adding to my speakers and keeping my Yamaha HS8s. So I might have an issue in the future with that. You could just go get a big knob mixer to really add more outputs, to add more speakers and stuff, but you have to pay for that. With the Clarinet, you get 2 outputs, and I feel like that is underrated. I feel like all audio interfaces should come with at least 2 different outputs. So you can add stuff like a sub or just another set of different speakers. So I have to give the point to the Clarinet for that. So next, let's talk about connection. With the Clarinet, it plugs in through USB-C, and it should connect like a normal regular USB-C port and should be really compatible with Windows. And I think USB-C should be fast enough as far as speed when you're making music. And I think USB-C should be fast enough. With the Universal Audio Aero and the Solo, you have way more options as far as connections. You have an option for Thunderbolt 3, like the Aero and the Solo. If you have Thunderbolt 3, the Aero and the Solo has you covered. If you have USB-C, the Solo has you covered. And I recommend that for Windows users. If you have Thunderbolt 3, don't get the Aero at all. Me personally, I have the Aero using a Windows computer, so I'm able to see all the issues with the microphone input on other programs like FL Studio, Audacity, and etc. But my Aero perfectly works fine in like programs like Pro Tools, and I only use that for vocals, so that's why I kept it so long. But the Aero has way too many issues with different programs for me to really recommend it to Windows users. So if you have a Mac, you shouldn't have any of those issues. So you can get the Aero or the Solo, whichever matches your gear, go with that. If you have USB-C, whether you're on Mac or PC, go with the Solo, or you can go with the Clarinet. Last, let's talk about portability. Portability is important if you're traveling all the time like me. I think you should know how portable these interfaces are. The Clarinet has to be plugged into an outlet to be powered on, and so does the USB-C version of the Universal Audio Solo. The Thunderbolt 3 version of the Universal Audio Aero and the Solo doesn't need to be plugged in, so you're good on that point. And honestly, I really love that for that reason, because I've been into different situations where I was in a room and there was only like 2 different outlets. One outlet was occupied by the studio monitors, and the other outlet was occupied by a computer and someone's phone charging. So you can see how an argument can easily spark up in a studio session. So if you're getting the Clarinet or the USB-C version of the Solo, you might want to also get like an extension port or something like that. The Universal Audio Aero and the Solo and the Clarinet are small enough to really fit inside a backpack. Hopefully this video was able to help you make a decision. Again, if you want to check out the links and specs on these interfaces, a link will be in the description. Also, if you guys want me to listen to your music, make sure you guys add me on Twitch, where we will do beat critiques, cookups, and all that kind of stuff. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Other than that, I'll see you guys later. Stay safe. Peace.